Good morning, class of 2030 future graduates. Today I want to be going over the key findings of the COVID-19 vaccine for its effectiveness for the children and adolescents such as yourselves. I'm not saying your children, you're definitely in that adolescent category, you're teenagers. So let's get to it. Our objective, I want to show you guys that vaccines are safe and effective. Now I used 3 of these big CDC reports. I know you probably heard all about CDC, all over the news, COVID's been a huge thing. So I just want you to know that you can be safe and you can get these vaccines and you can get out there and play and have fun and not be locked up all day. Got it? So boosters, dose, safety, and adolescents. Okay, so this study period, it went from December 9th to January 20th, 2022. All right, boosters were given out to 2.8 million teenagers such as yourselves. That's a lot of people. That's where they got all this data from. So some be safe monitoring. The only side effects that you're really going to have are going to be maybe some soreness in your arm, maybe you get a headache, maybe you feel a little tired. Those are some pretty common symptoms across the board. They're considered mild and not severe. They're not going to cause you to have super bad pains. This is after receiving the vaccine. So I want you to be aware that yes, you might have some side effects, but this is so much better and it's really temporary compared to getting COVID itself and then being really sick and then risking getting other people sick and then just spreading it around. You don't want to make your family, your mom, or grandparents sick like that. So then, what are the other things that we can see? We had 914 reports on this whole report that we got out of 2.8 million. And non-serious were 837. That's about 92% of people who had non-serious reactions, such as headaches and sore arm. And I'd rather have a sore arm than a headache and be able to go outside and have fun than be locked inside because I got sick and I can't be around my family and get them sick. So now, you're looking at this probably. Heart inflammation, scary. That's a big word, but myocarditis is simply not common. Out of those cases, 32 of them were among adolescent boys. And when they mostly recovered, and also by the time the reports came in, they were already in the recovering phase. So that's a good sign that even those who had these cases where their heart may become a little bigger or inflamed, they recovered from it. I'm going to go over the vaccine effectiveness in your age group, okay? So, study period, April 2021 to January 2022, and it was across 10 states. Now, let's get over to the actual effectiveness. You see this number here, 46% at 14 to 67 days after that second dose. That's for ages 5 to 11. Now, here to get at your age group, mostly, well, you might have a couple of y'all fall in there, but most of y'all probably gonna fall in here, and this is one you really want to pay attention to. That vaccine effectiveness out of that second dose, between 14 to 149 days, 83%. And then when it comes to 150 days or greater, 38%. Now you're looking, it's like, oh, the number dropped down a little bit. Yeah, but still it's a protective measure and you can always eventually, we're gonna move on to getting boosters. Objective, obviously, is to show you the vaccines are safe and effective. But I wanna go ahead and tell you that we use these 3 CDC reports to gather our data, and these are combing millions and millions of people to make sure that these results are actively aware and perfect for your observation. Booster shot, safety, and last adolescents 12 to 17. So this is the whole encompassing of adolescents. Study period went from December 9th, 2001 to February 20th, 2022. The booster dose administered was up to approximately 2.8 million. Pfizer boosters were actually given. Be-safe monitoring essentially is when they give these reports out to us. And they noticed that there were arm swelling, fatigues, and headaches were the most common, but those are not considered critical and life-threatening in any way, so you don't have to worry about that for your kids. But they did have a couple of reports that we'll go over real quickly in the various reports. So there were a total of 914 reports, and about 91 to 92% of those were non-serious, total of 837. What I want to bring up is the myocarditis. You're probably looking at that like heart inflammation. That's probably scary to you, but in reality, this is very uncommon. And even in those who did have these sort of issues with the heart, they were fully recovered or were recovering by the time the reports were actually given to us. So this is something that can happen, but it's not something that I want you to super hyper focus on. You are very unlikely for it to happen to your kids, and you're probably going to fit into this 92% category. Vaccine effectiveness in 5 to 17s. This is going over the hospital Augmentation, and the ED department. So study period for this one was around April 2021 to January 2022, and it went across 10 states. Some of the effectiveness I want to go over is that the urgent care visits were around 46% at 14 to 67 days after the second dosage. And then for 12 to 15, it was about 14 to 149 days. It was around 83% after that second dose. And then for 150 days or greater, that went down a little bit after second dose to 30%. Now we get on to 16 and 17 year olds. This is where the booster shots start to come into play. This is why it's going to be really important. At 14 to 149 days, after the second dose, you're at 76%. And for the 150 days, you're at 46% after that second dose. But here's the good one. The booster shots, after 7 days or more, it ranged from 81 to 86%. That shows protection reestablished after that dwindling effectiveness. This is why it's super important that your teenagers, especially you're getting up in high school, that they actually get these booster shots and keep themselves vaccinated. So even if they do get symptoms, they're not going to have severe symptoms. We want to keep people safe as possible, and vaccines do that. So in conclusion, just like I said, vaccine is super important. So for 5 to 11 to 12 to 15, for effectiveness, cohort from July 2021 to February. I would say that having a headache, feeling tired, having muscle fatigue, it's just common for us adults. And so having a kid having it, yeah, it doesn't feel good, but it's definitely something that they're gonna probably get used to when they get older. And so I'd rather have that than anything. Now you're looking at this probably saying, well, sir, what about this heart inflammation you see here? Now, yes, that did happen. Myocarditis found in 32 of those adolescent boys. And out of those adolescent boys, most have recovered, and some of these reports are actually, they were already in the recovery phase before you even read the reports. And so when it comes to those people, that's 32 out of 32 out of 914. And so that's only about 8% of them. And out of that 8%, you're looking at that 8% from the 914 out of 2.8 million people. So out of those adolescents, that's such a small percentage who actually have that the likelihood of anyone you know having those kind of symptoms is astronomically low. You're more likely to have a car accident than to have this happen. And God forbid, we don't want anybody to have a car accident. But I just want you to know how small the chances of actually getting these kind of issues is. When it comes to vaccine effectiveness, the study period was from April 2021 to January 2022. And that was across 10 states. When you go into the 5 and 11 year olds, you have the 14 to 67 days, the vaccine after the second dose was about 46%. That's how effective it was at stopping someone from catching COVID. When it comes to 12 to 15 years old, you have the 14 to 149 days, 83%, and then after 150 days after the second dose, it would drop down to 38%. When you get into the vaccine effectiveness of from 16 to 17 year olds, you're gonna have 14 to 149 days, you're gonna have 76%, and it drops down to 46%. But here's where the big one comes in, the booster dose. Greater than 7 days, 81 to 86%. That means that they had their second dose already, they haven't taken anything for 150 days, and it dropped down to 46%. Get that booster dose, and now bam, it's back up to 86%, almost like they just received the second dose again. So this shows that getting that vaccine again will definitely help you keep yourself immune to these viruses and keep you safe, keep your family safe, keep your community safe. We want everybody to be able to go out, do their jobs, go to school, go to church, to be social, be within the community, and for you guys to basically to have their opportunity to be with their group, to learn of God, and getting them there and learning that way is so important. And so we don't want them to be locked in their rooms, to be kept isolated, and it's just a depressing environment. We want to keep them out and about. So the more we can do that, the better. When we go